He's on a show called Sneaky
Sneaky
Pete,
Pete, yeah.
which is available now on Amazon Prime.
Yes.
Hey,
Giovanni
how you
Ribisi,
doing?
what's going on?
All right, nice to meet
How are you,
Nice
sir?
to meet you. How's it going?
All right, yeah, just got in.
Sit down. We're live.
1 hour of sleep.
You just got in. What did you fly in on the red eye?
Get in.
You got to grab his mic.
Oh,
over
sorry.
there,
Hold
Jim.
on. I'm very
He's
unprofessional.
new to the buttons.
Hold on a second. Oh, where's Jim?
He's-
Oh, there we go. Thank God.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah,
yeah, oh,
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I was reading that you went to Cuba. Why did you go to Cuba?
Well, I did a movie out in Cuba. I think it was 3 years ago. But yeah, I spent about 3.5 months there.
Oh, how was it?
It's an incredible experience. It was kind of like at the top of the bucket list for me, and it was it was a movie about a character who had an experience with Ernest Hemingway, and the director producer was wily enough, I guess I should say, to be able to finagle getting. Well, we shot in Hemingway's house, the actual house, which is now a museum, just outside of Havana. Yeah, an incredible experience.
Oh, okay. So
Beautiful people.
you went down before everything was kind of opened up.
About a year before, yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know if is it open? No.
Well, it's more open. I think you can book a flight out of JFK. I'm pretty sure you
Wow.
can.
Yeah, there has been a
On
commercial.
JetBlue,
What
right?
are we
Yeah.
doing
landed.
here? Let's go to Cuba.
But I don't know if I want to go because I saw you
should.
talking about it and you said there was no internet and I'm a bit addicted.
You're a bit, there's internet and there's yeah, it was interesting. We went and we went twice. There was with about a year and a half in between. So we shot part of the movie, and then went back and we stayed at the same hotel. And the first trip there wasn't really internet. You'd check your email, or you'd press, you'd go into it, and then the next day you'd be able to read it. And then then a year later there was high-speed internet where you could,
Yeah, you got
chat and all that.
You got to imagine that they've modernized a lot since opening up.
Yeah, but it was really recent they opened up. I mean, like in the last 6 months, right? Or last year.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the thing about going to Cuba is really the culture, the people, and
You don't think it's about checking Twitter?
No. Instagram stuff. Hey, look where I am.
But you can't use credit cards. That I would hate. I would never want to carry that much cash. I would want to be able to use my credit cards, and I don't think you're allowed to do that yet.
Yeah, well, I have to say, apparently, from what I understand, the penalty for accosting or burglarizing a tourist was pretty severe. So it was one of the safest countries that I've ever been. I mean, you could walk around at midnight anywhere, and again, that was just due to to the culture and the people and their values. Really,
Don't people eat
really
like
different from America? It is definitely a culture shock, but in the best way.
Don't people go and eat in other people's houses? Like instead of a lot of restaurants, they'll have you could just
Yeah,
go to
you
somebody's
can do
house
that.
and they cook you food.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Uninvited?
Well, no, you have to be. There's probably a sign. You don't
Yeah,
just walk
there's
in.
a sign.
I'm
They'll
from
invite
America.
you in on the
Cook.
street, and it's safe, and it's great. It's an incredible experience. And then Veredado, which was a region outside of Havana, was arguably one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. It was the Lord of the Rings. There were underground caves with rivers in them, and you could go on a boat, and it's where they cured most of the tobacco for the cigars that come out of Cuba.
I was in Cuba once, but I was on the military side performing. I wanted to go. I was with Jeff Ross, but you can't. I mean, there was just no way. But you would look across. They took us to where the military guys were, and you could see the Cuban soldiers.
Guantanamo
really?
Bay.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
in Guantanamo, and they're like, you can't. We didn't get to go see the prisoners. They wanted me to do a show for them, but I couldn't. I had to do it
Prisoners of-
No, I'm kidding. It was for the American
You want to do
soldiers.
some stand up for the prison?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that's what we were
Ouch.
funding. Yeah.
Jose Padilla, yeah.
Yeah, they found me. They found me
Yeah.
offensive.
Oh no.
Jose Padilla, is that the guy that was going to make the dirty bomb? Is Padilla the guy that was going to make the?
No, he was. It's a whole controversy, but he was somebody who apparently lived with a hood over his head for about a year and a half, and he ended up being, from what I understand.
Yeah, he was
the
arrested.
narrative-
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
He was arrested in Chicago in 2002 on suspicion of plotting a radiological bomb, a dirty bomb.
Yeah, but I think was he innocent?
Oh,
Or
he
I
might
don't
have been.
know.
I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know. That's what they arrested
Yeah,
him for.
It's a controversy.
We drove by. They took us by Guantanamo, the actual prison, and or whatever you want to call it, and they told us no cameras, no filming, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
But Jeff snuck a camera.
Wow.
But you can't see anything. I mean, you're just kind of riding by.
Yeah,
But
my
I wanted to go to
experience was
Cuba.
a little different.
Oh, yeah, I know. I would rather have
But it
gone where
was,
you
uh,
were.
We saw
Hemingway.
Cuba, and Hemingway, and
But I wish you could do both, because I really wanted
Sure.
to go and see the culture, but you don't feel like you're in Cuba. I was just on a military base.
It really is it's an amazing throwback to another time, and it feels, I guess, by maybe an ugly American standards, this arrested development. Really, there's I mean, even with the cars there, there's a lot of those 1950s
Right.
Oldsmobiles and Chryslers, and they've been kind of Frankensteined in a way because of the sanctions in America. So that, like, a car would break down, they'd have to get parts from Russia and whatnot. But still, that's a source of pride, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Search for
classic cars there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. But the architecture and just the region. I mean, it's just beautiful.
there were people that didn't want it to be opened up because they didn't want that culture like going away. They didn't want that interfered with, and felt like once it got more open,
once
you'd
you
have
do,
to
and then
add
suddenly,
stuff in
like,
for
you open
tourists.
McDonald's there, and that's. I mean, I guess that is sort of a concern, but I don't know. I mean, I think there's enough integrity there that I personally wouldn't necessarily worry about that.
Yeah, I would like to go. It's just one of those things. And when I read you've been there, I figured it was before they opened it up.
Yeah.
You were in Lost Highway, which I love. I think that's really
Oh
underrated.
yeah. Oh cool. Yeah.
What did you? Who did you play in? I haven't seen it in years.
That was one of my first movies, and I went in. I remember I went in to meet with David Lynch, who I'm such a big fan of. He had his hair, I think it was standing like 6 feet off from his forehead.
Was he a little weird?
But just sort of had his attention on making a movie as opposed to the way he looked, really, I think. But he's just such an incredible inspiration, and that movie I love. I had You Blink and You Miss Me, but that was just one of my first.
Who was your
ones.
scene with?
Balthazar Getty and Natasha Gregson Wagner were the other actors in it. And it's I guess people have different interpretations of the film, but this was I was a friend of the young Bill Pullman in the
Okay,
film.
Richard Pryor was in that, wasn't he? He played a
Yeah,
mechanic or something.
right,
He had
yeah,
a
amazing.
weird scene.
Yeah.
And Robert Blake was so
amazing,
creepy in
so
that.
creepy, right? Yeah, incredible. I was actually in an acting class with Robert Blake.
You were?
Yeah.
Why would he still
growing
take
up.
acting class? Oh, this is
had-
like long after Beretta.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it was actually during that time, during the whole controversy with him, where he was
For killing his wife. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or allegedly, whatever.
and he was going to acting class during that time. That's cool.
I guess he knew he doesn't have to testify.
Yeah,
I think I better brush
Yeah,
up.
I guess, brush up.
It's my greatest role.
Yes. I said, honey, I'm going to get a salad. Oh, this guy's good.
Do you like when you have a project, like, I guess you would consider Sneaky Pete that type of project, but when you are responsible acting wise for the vast majority of it, like the movie that popped in my mind was Boiler Room.
Oh yeah,
Because it's I love the movie Boiler Room.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
But like that movie is pretty dependent on your performance because you're in almost every scene.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you can. Looking at it like that is so overwhelming that you just decide not to. I guess you don't look at it like that. And one of the things about doing television, or with this specific scenario, is that it's an organic story, and so you don't know what the next episode or the 3 episodes ahead of you,
Right.
where it's going to be, and I think that's one of the exciting aspects of it, because I think as an actor, at the end of the day, you're training yourself to not know and to sort of discover, especially in this day and age and the way stories are being told. But I think that no, I mean, I think I was just excited. And wanted to keep my mind open, especially working with this cast.
Yeah.
Brian and Margot and Peter Garrity and all those guys.
I didn't know Bryan Cranston was in it. I just watched the pilot, and then
Yeah.
I see him pop. I'm like, holy
the
shit,
very
I had
end,
no
yeah.
idea he was in this. And I probably
Yeah.
should have known that if I had read about it, but it was nice to see him. He was great.
Well, yeah. It's interesting because the show started out on CBS. It was a pilot for CBS, and then David Shore was running the show at the time. And then when it went over to Amazon, Graham Yost and Fred and the rest of the producers came on, and then it really kind of becomes a different show. It's its own show. It's more of a cable show, I should say.
Isn't that better though? You have the freedom of language and content freedom.
I think so, yeah, and I think that it feels like it's a part of what's going on television now, which is I feel like it's really the or a golden age of television, where in the last 4 years, really since I think probably House of Cards, you have television reinventing itself, and it's a different medium in a way. It's not that procedural thing. So yeah, I think the show became it jumped into a different medium really.
Years ago, movie stars wouldn't do TV. It was
Right.
just like a frowned on thing. You just didn't do television. if you're a movie
Yeah,
star.
but this is different. I mean, this is like doing a long form television. I mean, a film. And
So it's because it doesn't like break for commercials every 10
Right.
minutes,
Right.
so you
Yeah.
kind of know you have the perception of the audience's attention.
Yeah, but
you're
there
not
was
going to get a snack every.
Yeah, there was also sort of, I think, I not to sound pretentious or whatever, but I think that there is an evolved, sophisticated cinematic language, if you will, and I think that you found a lot of that and a lot of people exploring that in the '90s with independent films, and I think that became so saturated that you sort of you lost the plot there for a second, and I think television and the Netflix and the HBOs and the Amazons commandeered that sort of intellectualism or that breadth and that depth for storytelling, because it really is, again, like when you saw True Detective the first season, it was just a revelation, really.
Yeah.
But it makes regular TV almost look childish. Like it's hard to watch a drama on regular network TV when the lead cop is like, "You better watch it, Buster." You're like, "Oh, that's nobody talks like that."
And then you switch the channel, and then someone's finishing the same sentence at the end of a different show, right?
Yeah, watch. It's a totally different network.
Right.
It doesn't feel like you watch. There's much more realistic language and stuff like in Sneaky Pete and Dominic Lombardozzi is in the pilot. He's from The Wire. He played Herc on The Wire. It was great to see him, and
Yeah,
it's really
Dominic's
good, man.
great,
It's well
yeah.
acted. And
Yeah.
it's
Are there
awesome
scenes?
story.
Oh, thanks.
Like when you're doing scenes in this or anything, are there scenes that just like stay with you? Like, yeah, that was a good one. I like that one. Like going back to Boiler Room, for some reason, I've never, since I saw it the first time, like I recite it to my wife all
really?
the time
Oh,
just
wow.
because it's the scene where your dad is in the diner with you, and you're talking about your relationship with him, and he goes, "Seth, I'm not your girlfriend. I'm your father." Relationship, and you have this like look of like pain and concern, like you're just trying to communicate, and your dad just wants none of it. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, I have one of the worst memories in the history of being a human being. Really, I think that, but that's part of, I think, just being an actor. That especially with this show, there's so much that you do in one day. You're doing an hour or filming that over the course of 9 or 10 days, and you really, it's all about just sort of like being there and being in the moment and doing the best job that you can. So you have to discard what you did a half hour ago or before lunch or whatever
Right.
that is, and so a lot of it a lot of it feels like a little bit of a blur, and it's so intense. It's 16-hour days, and it's that. But you're just sort of trusting it, and I think and at the end of the day, it comes down to really just sort of like trusting the group of people that you're with, and knowing that everybody's just wanting to do the best job. That sounds like a really trite answer, but it's true. It really is true. It is this thing where you just sort of dive in, and for 4.5 months, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No.
How long was Gangster Squad delayed? Because I remember you guys did that, and there was a Colorado theater shooting,
Yeah.
and they delayed it, and they had to reshoot it. How long were you guys pushed back because of that?
The release, you mean? Yeah. That became a little bit of an issue. I remember hearing about that, and I think it was only a couple of months. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, you have to. There's a responsibility with what we do and how it affects society and current events and all that. But I think that I don't know. Maybe that was a little bit of overreaction. There's a specific scene in the film, and I tend to really, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but differentiate, entertainment and going to the movies and buying a ticket and going, okay, I'm going to watch a story to, But I guess, you do have to be sensitive to, of course, the victims of that tragedy and what happened. So yeah,
they reshot the scene too, right? Didn't they reshoot it?
I think so. Yeah, that's right. I mean, my recollection of doing that film was just was really great. Anthony Mackie and Ryan Gosling and Josh Brolin, who I'm a huge fan of. The whole cast was really, it was just such a privilege to work with those guys and that director,
Well, it was like after 9/11. Do you remember Spider-Man came out? And in the Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire, the first one, there was a great scene where he puts a web between the towers and a helicopter gets caught. But then after 9/11, I think they had to reshoot it, or they took that scene out because it would just be too
It's almost like you're being sensitive to the victims, but you're also, there's like a vibe where when it's a national thing,
the magnitude of the
people
story.
might not want to, like, oh, I don't want to see that.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? I don't want to be
guess so.
reminded of that right now.
It is that, yeah, I think so. I guess it's part of the politics of making movies and making movies on that scale, and so it's something that I don't really understand.
Did you ever go through a period where you didn't want to act? Because you've been acting since you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, was there ever a time when you were like, I'm not gonna, I don't want to, I don't want to do this.
I want to do karate or something. It's just
Well,
something.
it's funny that you say. I did want to know. Dance.
I dance.
No, I like dancing actually.
Are you good?
I don't think I'm good, but at a certain point you just have to,
Say fuck it.
yeah, say fuck it.
But let the people know if they're doing another La La Land or whatever. Giovanni's here.
Absolutely. Don't let him forget that he danced.
That's interesting. It's interesting that we were just talking about that, and any movie is. I just think it's a miracle that any movie gets made, and I love those actors. I was just saying Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
But you look at Singing in the Rain. Mm-hmm. Or Guys and Dolls. And
Do you mean the Gene Kelly or the Clockwork Orange version?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, we're both. No, but Gene Kelly definitely. And just how extraordinary those performers were, and those films, and the specificity and the lengths that they would go for costume and sets and camera moves when they were, cameras were Sherman tanks as opposed to these small handheld devices that this guy's held. But anyways, I digressed. I'm sorry, I forgot what we were talking about.
It was if you ever were at a period in your life where you didn't want to act.
Oh yeah, there was a period. Well, I got really into music. My father was in one of those one-hit wonder bands in the 1960s, and so music was always a part of my life and my family. We would play. It was during, I guess, that Yes record, Big Generator, I think it was called.
Mm-hmm. I don't know it.
Well, maybe that's aging me. But so we would all, my sisters and I and my father we'd jam to that music.
What was your dad's song?
It was called "I'd Love You." It was the band. It was a Zombies cover, and the band was called People. And yeah, so he was the keyboardist in that band. And so there was, for a little while, I wanted to do music, and at the end of the day, it was probably about 3 years. That's really all I did, and then I discovered the Actors Studio and the history of that. I think I read a book, and then I saw, Montgomery Clift and Marlon Brando and even just James Dean and then into the 70s and with all of that, and it really just refocused me and gave me a purpose, really, to.
And they're saying, though, you talked about liking Ryan Gosling. Who's the actor that Miles
Teller.
Teller, they said,
Miles Teller,
might have turned that, him and Emma Watson may have said no to those roles. Like, have you ever said no to anything? And you're like, oh, fuck, why did they say no to that?
No, I don't think. Yeah, sometimes you go, oh, well, maybe it would have been cool to do that, but no, I no regrets. And I think that I think it's a philosophy where you are where you've decided to be and or where you want to be ultimately, and there's an argument for that. And no, I think I feel fortunate, really. And right now, specifically, I couldn't be happier. Again, working with the likes of Mr. Bryan Cranston and the rest of the cast, and then also because we got picked up for another season. So
You
that's
did, right?
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Congratulations. Yeah,
Yeah,
Variety gave it a
thanks.
good review. I read the review. It's really good.
Yeah. So going into that and wanting to come out, just to hopefully improve and on whatever we have, and put more focus and effort into that. So
I noticed you stopped. Oh, go ahead, Sam.
I was about to say you were also in the band The Wonders before they became popular, right?
the Wonders,
Yeah,
right? The Oneaters.
Yeah.
How was Tom Hanks? He was directed
Oh
that,
my
right?
gosh, it doesn't get better than
that
Tom
thing
Hanks.
you do is like, and when you're doing a movie like that thing you do, because it came out in the '90s, late '90s,
Yeah, wow.
and it's a little like left of center to just come out with this movie about a one-hit wonder band in the '60s that you just or '50s, '60s that you just kind of make up.
Early
and
'60s, yeah.
It's just the story that Tom Hanks wants to tell right now, and he wrote it and directed the whole thing, and
Yeah.
it's become this movie that like people worship.
I know, it's interesting. Yeah, it really it has legs. It still has legs from that time. I think that was just a time period that he grew up in and was nostalgic for, and had a story that he wanted to tell.
Yeah.
From that, and I really loved. I think the world of him. I've had the opportunity to work with him a couple times, and I mean, as you know,
Yeah, Saving Private
everybody
Ryan.
knows. Yeah. Yeah, going through the boot camp experience. That was just, he's just, I remember we were all sitting, I don't know if this is a story but whatever. We were all sitting in his trailer or someone's trailer during that movie, and Vin Diesel was there, and Vin was talking about fame, and we were all young actors, and somebody threw a question over to Tom. They said, hey, Tom, what do you think about the fame thing? And Tom said, don't do the fame thing. And we're all actors aspiring to be actors, successful actors. Like, what do you mean? And he sort of changed his mind. He said, well, no, it's actually, I'm actually trying to figure out what the point of the story is. But he said, but I guess the point, it was just an interesting moment, like of him looking at that, just his humility. And he said, well, no, like one of the things that he really does appreciate is the fact that he got to meet specific people like Neil Armstrong and through his career, through the different movies and characters that he had to explore and all that, and how fortunate, but just really an amazing man, an amazing family, just madly in love with his wife, and
How
And
long
he
was
doesn't. By the way, he
Sorry.
doesn't have to be cool. The fact that you're a bunch of young actors in a trailer with Tom Hanks and he's hanging out with you and he's giving you advice. Like there are a lot of actors, especially at that point in Tom Hanks' career, where he could have been like, "I'm not hanging out with the young guys. Like I don't." You know what I mean?
Oh no, yeah, no. He's just he's all about just wanting to, I think, really do the best work that he can, make the best movie and take responsibility for that.
Yeah.
How long was boot camp?
That was about 2.5 weeks.
Oh my! So they had a bunch of actors like going through a
yeah.
legit boot camp,
Yeah, it was
or as close to legit as you can make
It was
it.
close. Yeah, we had a guy who was a real drill instructor, and we had the supplies from that the Army Rangers were using from World War II, and the tents, and we all bivouacked, as they call it, set up the campsite at this airfield. From what I understood at the time, it was Hampstead Heath or around there. And I mean, I just remember sleeping in mud for two, and
So you weren't going back to a hotel at the end of the night. You were legitimately staying there.
Oh yeah. No, we were sleeping out there for 2 weeks. Yeah, there was some of the guys remaining nameless actually were just like they didn't want they walked away from it.
They walked away from a Spielberg movie.
No. From but they said no. I'm calling SAG right.
Wow, really? Oh my God!
They said I don't have to do
calling
this.
SAG.
No, but it was that's I mean that's one of those unforgettable experiences where you again, because you're doing a movie and because you get to go meet people and go explore different worlds and lives that you just cherish, really. It was absolutely one of the hardest things I've ever done. And the relationship with apparently I think he was actually a colonel, but we called him Captain Dale Dye, and one of the smartest, 56 years old. We were all in our early 20s, could outrun us. Went to sleep after us, woke up before us,
in military shape.
Yeah,
He was in military
it was
shape.
just
yeah.
unbelievable. Yeah.
Hey, you stopped tweeting over a year ago. Did you get sick of it, or did you get bored of it, or was it like when did you stop?
I don't know. It felt like, as just being an actor, it just felt like it was more of an obligation, I guess, than anything, and it was. Just sort of quantifying my life, or looking at other people that were quantifying their lives by how many followers they had. It was just something. It's not even necessarily something that I put a lot of attention on or made it into a big deal. But I just kind of stopped doing it. And I also think somebody hacked into it, and I didn't know how to log back in, so I just thought, oh, whatever. I don't know. Yeah, I don't care. Yeah,
It's theirs.
Yes,
now.
I've claimed hacking too. Every time a dick photo of mine is snuck
Yeah.
out.
Whoa, hello.
They stole it. It's stolen.
I don't know what happened.
Yes.
Luckily, I got it
Wiener.
back, but it was hacked. I didn't know.
It's funny how no one ever claims hacking when it's a smart political statement.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. I got hacked.
Is it
Photoshop?
Is it difficult to be open about being a Scientologist when it's become sort of very? I feel like it's very trendy right now.
Mm-hmm.
People really want to expose Scientology for whatever it is, and that's like, Leah Remini has the show, or there's documentaries coming out every other week, or whatever it is. Is it difficult for you to just be like, this is just part of my life?
Yeah,
Do you know
I don't
what I
know.
mean?
It's interesting because it is this source of controversy that somehow became this thing, and the more you talk about it or have unearth these people that have had problems, the more you can have create something that's controversial. And for me, and I speak of that, but this is just my perspective and my own outlook on it. That it's a personal thing. It's something that works for me, and I think it's that simple. A lot of people want to talk about it or have opinions about it, and you'll find that most of those individuals, from my perspective, and I speak to a lot of people about it, that they've never read or really are not educated as to what Scientology is. They've never read anything that Hubbard's written, and yeah, I mean, it becomes, it's this interesting thing because you go, this is my religion, the philosophy that I study, that is essentially an applied religious philosophy. The other people who come on to shows or do interviews or talk that don't get really asked about being Christian or Jewish or Buddhist or and
probably just because Scientology is newer, so you know what I mean. It's almost like when at the birth of Christianity or something. It's like now this is kind of a newer one, so there's more.
Sure, yeah, and it is. I think that before you are a Buddhist or Christian, Scientologist, you are who you are, and I don't think that. Maybe Leah, who I've known since I was a teenager, had a problem. I have a sneaking suspicion that it was probably an issue with one or two people in the Church of Scientology. Or maybe it's broader than that, and then it just seems to have festered. I do have to say though. I can't help but wonder, somebody who's doing a series, a whole season about that subject, that they're not getting paid, and there's a lot of money behind it. It's turned into such a controversy to where you go out, you make a documentary about it. The person who's doing that is making money off of it.
So there could be other motives.
Yeah, and so that's again, it's not even necessarily that it's something that I would care to discuss to the extent because it is something where if somebody has a question, it's just somebody like it's the only thing that you can really say is, yeah, it works for me, and if you're curious about it, go ahead, go pick up a book.
Which is kind of the same with every single religion.
or any topic.
Right.
Period.
Well, I guess that's true. Yeah.
You know?
You used to tweet a lot about NASA too. Are you big? Are you a big space buff? I hate to say buff. I just couldn't think of a word after space.
Yeah,
space
well,
person
of course,
sounded
yeah.
even dumber.
Yeah, I mean, it really.
You an astronaut?
Yeah, you big space guy.
Guy, are you an astronaut?
Spaceman?
No, I'm not an astronaut. I'm an actor. No, yeah. I mean, of course, I have a fascination. I probably just as much as the next guy. I'm not that knowledgeable, but yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I mean, how can you not wonder about that? Especially today, in this day and age.
Yeah,
It's
no, I speak
amazing.
about it publicly.
Space, you mean?
Yeah. I
it's
don't know what I'm talking about, but I just talk about it.
Well, it's
Well, hate
amazing how obsessed people have gotten with space because, like, physicists like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Michio Kaku and people
Yeah.
like that
Lyle
have become.
Chipperson.
Well, I don't know if Lyle Chipperson is one, but they've become celebrities, like in the sense that, like, it's a mainstream
Absolutely.
thing that if you
Yeah.
can speak
Carl
to
Sagan,
people,
born out of that culture. Yeah.
yeah, in a language that they can understand, it kind of blows people's minds.
Yeah, and there are so many mysteries out there that are questions that we know are legitimate questions now that do apply to physics and the fabric of our existence, really, and really. I think it's the same. I guess maybe this goes back to the same questions that somebody might have of space are in this maybe right next door to the same reasons why you might have a religious philosophy. In that why are we here? What are we doing? And a lot, that said, there's still a lot of focus where the today's religion arguably could be technology or status, or whatever that is. But
We got to wrap up there.
I want to
sorry.
ask a much
sorry,
dumber.
No,
you were like,
I'm just
we gotta
thinking.
go.
No. You have other interviews.
I want to
Okay.
ask a much dumber question about Sneaky Pete.
Okay.
Because I was watching it. Did you actually have to learn how to pickpocket people? Because I noticed the shots are quick, tight,
Yeah.
hand in the pocket
Yeah.
shots. So maybe you
I
didn't.
tried. But then we had a guy there that had been doing that for 10 years, and I just couldn't compete.
I would love
compete
that,
with
to have that skill.
I know, right?
To just be able to brush
or
up
the
against-
cards and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Like
wouldn't
Matt
like
Damon
that.
in Ocean's 11.
Yeah, my
Just-
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather just ask and receive, but you guys
Yeah.
do it. You guys do it. Guy who takes the high road when it's not necessary. Sneaky Pete, 10 episodes. They're now available. It's really, I only saw the pilot, but it was great.
Oh, great, thanks.
It's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to give out the Twitter because you really don't use it. But that's the best part. You can just go and you can check them all out on Amazon Prime right now. And it's a very, very good show.
Plus, this is why Amazon Prime is so great. You watch all these shows, you can binge them, they got movies, and then you can order something, you get 2-day free shipping.
Yeah,
It's
there it
amazing,
is. I know,
Amazon
right there.
Prime. It's incredible.
2-day free shipping.
Thank you, Giovanni.
Guys,
Thank you,
thanks so
Giovanni.
much.
And
Yeah.
we'll be
We can
right
take
back.
a break.